One of my long-awaited projects, once again, has been hiding in the corner forever. I purchased this mini split off of eBay, and it was the cheapest one I could find. And I think as we go through it, we'll find out why it was the cheapest one. But it does work, and it does heat my shop, and it should cool it come summer as well. This kit's going to come with everything that you're going to need to install it. This will be the third unit I've installed. I've installed others in my parents' house and my back shop as well. These units come pre-charged with the gas that you're going to need. You just have to be very careful that there's no moisture in the line. And keep in mind, installing it yourself, you will void the warranty. The only thing that wasn't included was the wall mount kit, and I was going to have to build up some L brackets for mounting it on the wall outside. It was easy as just drilling the holes that I required and then welding up the L brackets.
I'm going to go against the wall like that. And then this
is going to go like that.
And then we got this square.
I'm pretty sure the C channel that I'm using is way overkill for it. However, sometimes I just build stuff with what I have on hand, and I picked this up at the local scrapyard for probably about $10 or $20 for the whole length of it. Now when you mount it on your wall, you're going to want to make sure that you tap into some of the studs, because you don't want this unit coming down later. Also, pay special attention to having room behind your machine, because you're going to want the air movement to go over the coils in the back. The mounting bracket is 16 on center, so it works quite well with our current building. I chose to drill 4 holes and use 4 1/4-inch lag bolts to bolt it onto the wall. Now for the sketchy part. There's 2 parts to these units. There's the outside pump, which you just saw, and the inside unit. The inside unit's going to have to be mounted in a central area on the wall, preferably up high out of the way. This way, it's going to slowly pump a constant temperature throughout the whole shop. For some strange reason, the bracket that mounts to the wall is screwed to the unit, and this screw's not going to be used again. Mounting it to the wall is as simple as finding your studs in the wall and then just screwing it in a bunch of times so it doesn't fall off the wall. Pretty simple, right? This is going to mount onto the wall with a simple hinge system, and then it'll clip in the bottom, but we're not going to clip it in quite yet because there's still a bit of work to do. Yes, you guessed it, we're going to have to run the lines through the wall to the outside unit. You're going to have 4 lines that are going to go outside. Your low pressure, your high pressure lines, the control wires, and also your drain for condensation. The inside head unit has a small charge in it, which is released to atmosphere. The main charge is in the outside pump. Pay special attention that you don't kink any of these copper lines. And then when you go to tighten them up, special care shouldn't be to over tighten them. The last unit that I had, I didn't have a flare joint made correctly and I over tightened it, causing some heartache. Ideally, you're supposed to pressure check it and vacuum it. However, the first one that I installed that I didn't do that on was 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still running fine. There's 2 cutaways that you're going to have to remove to put your hoses in, and then running the wires is pretty simple. The first one I did, I got pretty hung up on which wire was supposed to go where. However, really, as long as one on the inside matches one on the outside, you should be okay. However, there is a wiring diagram, as you'll see later, that you should follow. Now I did follow the instructions as it said, matching the colors up to what they're supposed to be. But when I got outside, I did check my phone, I took some pictures, and I still matched up the colors, once again making sure that everything was correct. Now for the last part of it. This is where the charge is going to come out, and there's an Allen key that'll let it out. However, before we get that far, I had to cut the line and then flare it. Unbeknownst to me, this was a cheaper unit, and this line turned out to be aluminum in the middle. I do recommend, if you're going to do your own flare joints, to get a really good quality flaring tool. It's as simple as cutting the line, installing it so it sticks just a little bit above the tool, and flaring it in the tool. Keep in mind you're going to have to deburr it thoroughly, and make sure your lines are always clean and no debris getting on the inside. This is another instance that too much power and over-tightening stuff can wreck your flare joint and give you a lot of headaches later. Now you're going to notice that the outside flare joint is an aluminum flare joint. I frankly have no idea whether you can get away with using an aluminum flare joint or not. However, mine is holding pressure, but I don't recommend doing what I did. Underneath the cap, you see that says GS and DS on the ends is an Allen bolt that lets the gas into the system. Last but not least, we start it up and we let it go through its warm-up check, and then we're off to the races.